Sweet 16, they say, and it's match number 16, and we've got a sweet guest in Russel Arnold. Of course, we're going to be dissecting a big one. We're talking about Punjab versus Gujarat. Don't go anywhere. You're going to watch this match preview. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, watch this video till the end because we've got some fascinating 2 new segments. My name's Avnish Hegde, you're watching cricket.com. Let's bring on our expert for today, which is Russel Arnold. Russ, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening. Sweet 16, you had me all excited because I'm of this notion that I'm still a teenager at heart, and geez, you dashed my hopes. But the match you're talking about, that we're going to talk about, it's going to be a cracker because 2 good teams. Of course, it's early in the tournament, but they're showing signs, and I believe their fans are getting a bit excited.
Yeah, they are, and we'll of course come to the fan segment later on the show as well. So lots to watch. But first up, got to ask you about Punjab before we move on to Gujarat. They beat CSK the last time out, Russ, and they got 180, and then they managed to defend it with some ease. Did their bowlers actually come to the party, or was it a case of CSK's batters not being dominant on the day?
Well, CSK are struggling. That's for sure. So no doubt about that. But there was a lot to like about what Punjab did. That's what stands out. So there's Rabada there, and there were 2 debutants, one with the bat, one with the ball. And how good was Arora? I liked what he brought to the table. The movement, the way he moves that ball, he can move it either way. He's not express. So ideally, Mayank Agarwal has to use him at the top like he did in the a previous game, and that gives them that variety. I think they're going to be a handful. I think their fans this time around, I mean, prior to that you were talking about weaklings in that bowling attack, but now quietly it's coming together. Even Livingston in the spin department, there's Cheher, that's quietly looking a good attack, and a good team in fact.
Yeah, indeed. Livingston had the match of his life, many people reckon. Of course, going big, hitting the biggest 6 of the tournament so far, and then pulling out a spectacular catch and 2 for 25. You can't ask for more. Let's stick with Punjab and their batting because that's been the most impressive part of the team, at least on Twitter and pundits alike. The question what I'll ask you here, Russ, is the attacking philosophy that they've shown. Should there be an anchor for any team, not just Punjab, surrounded by a bunch of dashers? Because right now it's looking all of them are dashers and not one of them wants to play the anchor role.
Well, they're playing to their strengths. They've got a clear plan in place, and that's what it comes down to be clear in what you want to do and execute that. That's what all of them are doing. Now, over the 20 overs, it's not gone to plan right through. There have been instances where they've been dropping off, but the moment it falls in place, they will start batting teams out of games. And that's what you can expect with that clear attitude. That second game, they fell in a heap, and you'd expect that from time to time by being dashers. But they came back for the game against CSK with the same plan, with the batsmen playing a little bit more responsibly. And the moment they put pressure on the bowlers, they're able to go on. Now, you talk about an anchor, there is one crucial player there who hasn't contributed. Guess who I'm talking about? He starts scoring runs, the dashers, and the anchor who also will score pretty quickly, it falls in place, the jigsaw. I'm talking about the captain.
Indeed, Mayank Agarwal, of course, is due 1, so the law of averages state that he could come to the party against Gujarat. Speaking of whom, they've been sensational themselves, Russ. 2 out of 2. What has impressed you the most about Hardik Pandya and company?
Well, surprising me. Before the tournament, you asked me the question about Hardik Pandya and how do you think he'll go as captain. Well, I said he'll struggle, but he's come out and surprised us with what he's doing, how he's contributing, and he's being a lot more involved in the game, which is, of course, flowing on to the rest of the team. And they have, in fact, got a good bowling attack. That does stand out. There are a few batsmen in there who have to perform consistently for that team to do well, but the confidence is growing, and now teams are taking notice of the Gujarat side, which is a good thing. So the fact that I can't really pick out one player or 2 players to highlight here for you tells you that this is a dangerous team. That's a good 11 there. So hopefully with a few more on either side, they get a good squad in place who'll keep challenging as the tournament goes round. Of course, I do expect the tournament to change with the conditions as we get deeper into April and May, the heat to bear down, the wickets to crumble, run making, shot playing, and the way you approach the game will change. Will they be able to change gears at that stage? It's a question, but right now, what's required? They're doing it really well.
Yeah, they're doing it really, really well. Now, of course, we look at that batting lineup on paper for Gujarat Lions, I'm saying. Titans, correct me if I'm wrong. There'll be pelters from Gujarat fans right now. But having said that, Hardik Pandya, where should he bat for them? Because he's been surrounded by people like David Miller, Tewatia who comes at number 6. Then he has Gill and Wade up top, Vijay Shankar at 3. His numbers suggest, Russ, that it's actually at 4 where he thrives. Do you think that's a spot maybe higher up for him, or do you think he should go back to 5 and 6?
No, I like what he's doing, as I mentioned earlier. The fact that he's taking the ball into his hands and coming in earlier suggests he wants to play. And he comes in later in an innings. Of course, the strike rate is up and he makes an impact. But if he can bat more balls, score more runs, and quietly get that strike rate up, set himself up for the death overs where he's in a better position to play those big shots, I think he'll be more destructive. So I like this role that he's trying to play. It's not only for himself, but the fact that he's getting out there and trying to do the business is rubbing off on the teammates. A captain leading from the front is exactly what you want. Another thing about Hardik Pandya, I still think there's a lot more to come. He really hasn't lived up to expectations, the hype that goes with him. It's always been in patches. This is the opportunity, and he's made a great start. I think, Avnish, keep your thoughts to yourself. Let him be at 4.
All right, let him be at 4 is what Russel Arnold says. And let's see how that really unfolds for Gujarat Titans in the longer run. Now, it makes me think about different subplots. Every game does. And this one, of course, the power play will be critical for both teams, especially when Punjab go out there with the bat in hand because they've been prolific. And then you think about what Russ said in terms of Lockie Ferguson and Mohammad Shami. They've been exceptionally brilliant in the power play, especially since IPL 2021. It's not just the sample size of 2022. So, Russ, my question to you is, who do you fancy in that batting power play for Punjab? Punjab's batsmen or the Gujarat bowlers?
Oh my God, now you put me on the spot. Now, the Punjab batsmen, the fact about them is they just want the runs. And they are even happy to give the opposition 3 wickets, and then hopefully someone takes it deeper. So that's the kind of philosophy that they will work with. It's going to be a fascinating battle because Lockie Ferguson is generally better used in the middle overs. Yeah. With the extra pace that he brings about, he needs more protection. In the first 6 overs, there's only 2 fielders outside the circle, and he can use that short ball. That's when he's more effective. So it's basically, I'm going to change that equation a little bit. The Gujarat bowlers with Mohammad Shami, Ferguson for a little later. You can't look past Shami for the way he's bowling, but the pitches will settle down a bit, and I think it'll be more friendly for batting, unlike the first couple of wickets that we saw where there was a bit of movement. I'm going with the Kings to win the power play.
Okay, I mean, it's going to be a fascinating watch, and there's a subplot in the subplot with that one because Mohammad Shami is up against his old franchise in the Punjab Kings. Now, we've seen some terrific matchups earlier this week in Samsung versus Hasaranga. There was that spell of Bumrah versus Russell, but this match, everyone's kind of pointing towards Liam Livingstone versus Rashid Khan. In fact, Rashid has got him out the most number of times in T20s. Who's going to be coming out in that battle, because that too is a compelling watch.
No, I think it's going to be a tight game in the end. A very, very tight one. So if Punjab wins the power play, Gujarat has to win those middle overs. If not, the game's not going to even out. That's how I'm looking at it. I want everything to fall in place so that we have the best time. The fans have the best time. Not the players having it easy. So Rashid Khan for me, Avnish.
Okay, Rashid Khan for you. Now, you mentioned the fans, and it's a perfect opportunity to lead into this new segment that we're doing on cricket.com. If you guys want to get involved back home, let us know and send us your videos on the email ID given in the description below, and we'll feature it for our next shows for sure. So this one, it's a fan called Thania, and she's from Punjab. This is a question to Russel Arnold.
So as a Punjab fan, I've seen the team perform well in multiple seasons at the start, but then things kind of go down later on in the season. given the first 3 games of this season so far, how convinced should we be that this season is different from the others? Yeah.
Geez, Tanya to the point, isn't she?
Yeah, indeed.
Well, getting on to answer her question, I think there's reason for her to be excited this time around compared to the seasons before, because the team that the Punjab Kings have got together are a better balanced unit, I would think. There's a lot of experience, there are some X factors, and there's a bit of depth. And the most important thing, Avnish, I'm ignoring you, I'm answering Tanya. The fact that they seem to have a concrete game plan in place, and they still haven't got Mayank Agarwal performing. They still haven't really had Kagiso Rabada. They've really not needed him. So now these are two major parts in that team who you have to back to come together. And with the other players in place, Livingston doing what he's doing, the other batsmen just scoring runs at a rate, Agarwal balances that out. They will score lots of runs, and then you got Arora. I think I'm going to bank on him really to make a difference, which takes the pressure off Rahul Chahar or Rabada to just sit back and go about their business rather than having to hunt for wickets. Then there's too much pressure on them. So it is looking very good. There's also, I've mentioned depth. There's Bairstow if you need to bring in. So this team is actually looking good, and they seem to have a proper direction, and they seem to understand exactly how they want to play. So the next time you ask us a question, you can have a bigger smile.
Brilliantly answered by Russel Arnold there. And of course, it's food for thought because Punjab, like he said, Bairstow's going to be returning to the scheme of things. So is Nathan Ellis, who's been doing fantastic work in the shortest format. Russ, before you go, we'll get your predictions, but take it away in the Mr. Milestone segment, which is, of course, you asking the fans a question, and then they can comment their answers below to stand a chance to win a cricket.com goodie bag.
Yes, so Mr. Milestone, the question is obviously, the answer is in the game that we are talking about. Who's the player who's 2 catches away from taking 100 catches in T20 cricket? Now get on to those comments. No sledging us. Just answer the question.
Super. I mean, it's sometimes I feel that Russel Arnold just can take over the job from me. It'll make my days a lot easier. But we've had great fun in this little match preview. Before we let him go, he of course picked Rashid Khan to thrive against Liam Livingstone. He backed Punjab in the power play. Now the all-important question, who's going to be having winner, winner, chicken dinner written all over it, you feel, Russ?
I'd like to say super over so that we are taken down to the wire and real excitement. I'll go with the Punjab Kings because right. I have to back what I told Tanya, right?
cheeky, but we love it from Russel Arnold. Of course, we'll catch him post-match Punjab vs Gujarat. It's going to be high octane one, and don't miss it, even if you have to.